Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on what time zone that you're in. Welcome to Architecture Preview 2021 at Talbot College of Architecture and Urban Planning at the University of Michigan. My name is Christopher Tremblay, and I'm Director of Admissions and Recruiting at Talbot College. On behalf of our faculty, staff, students, and alumni, congratulations again on your admission to the University of Michigan in Talbot College. We are excited to welcome more than 275 students at this event today and tomorrow. You're joining us from 34 states and 17 different countries on 3 continents among our 3 different degrees in architecture, design and materials technology, as well as our urban design program. Thank you for joining us. One of our attendees is celebrating a birthday today, so happy birthday, Abigail. Over the next 2 days, you'll have the incredible opportunity to participate in 14 different sessions. These sessions will connect you to our curriculum, student organizations, faculty, students, resources, and all of the experiences that await you here at Talbot College. We're excited to showcase what we have to offer. Most sessions will be recorded and will be shared with you afterward. Throughout the event, if you need assistance, please visit our virtual help desk Zoom room, which you'll find linked on the Architecture Preview schedule. Special thanks to Lisa Hauser and Jerry Kreiner, along with the entire team at Admissions, for organizing this preview weekend. Look forward to connecting with you over the next 2 days. And now our first speaker of the day, please welcome the Dean of the Talbot College of Architecture and Urban Planning, Jonathan Massey.
Thank you, Christopher, and hello and welcome, everybody. Congratulations on your acceptance to our architecture program. Again, on behalf of everyone at the college, students, staff, and faculty alike, we welcome you and congratulate you. One of the main questions you're probably thinking about today and over the next couple of weeks is, what kind of environment are we welcoming you into here at Talbot College? And so I'll start by saying a little bit about how we're rolling in this in these pandemic times, and as we plan our trajectory out of this crazy year. So along with folks all across campus at the University of Michigan, we are preparing to ramp up in-person activity across all areas of college and campus life. We have had students, faculty, and staff working in the Art and Architecture building for a portion of our teaching and learning all through this year. Some folks have been in to use the wood shop and the fabrication lab. Others have been conducting studio in a hybrid format that allows students to work at studio desks, while others participate virtually on Zoom and through Miro boards and other measures. And we're excited that with the anticipated progress of vaccination and other public health measures, we're quite excited to get back to the vital residential community and in-person teaching and learning that are a hallmark of Talbot College. And so that means classroom and studio instruction, research activity, laboratory and shop operations, also the many co-curricular and extramural activities that are a big part of undergrad and graduate school for many of you, as well as on-campus housing for undergraduates and graduate students. We're excited that all of that will be ramped up to something much closer to full capacity than it has been this year. And so our picture of the 21-22 academic year that starts in late August is a year in which the great majority of us are on campus. And we can't wait to welcome you into that community, to Ann Arbor, to the Art and Architecture building, to the many other resources of our campus, city, and region. At the same time, we anticipate that some of you may not be able to join us in person. There may be health reasons, you may have family or caregiving obligations, you may have visa challenges in arriving in time to start the fall semester. We know there's a lot of uncertainty about where you will be 6 months from now in your life. And so for those of you who aren't able to join us in person on campus, we are preparing to support students in some of your coursework and access to some of our co-curricular activities, even if you're not able to be fully present in Ann Arbor. So at a bigger level and on a larger time frame, your probably know a fair amount about us, but I'm hoping to help that all of the events today will help you answer the question of why Taubman College. And I'll start with our situation in the great University of Michigan. This is one of the world's top public research universities with excellent faculty and students in virtually every program of study, every subject that you could care to know about. And we attract the best minds from all over the world. That provides you an unmatched breadth of opportunity to learn, not only in architecture, but in the many other fields that touch it and complement it and that might be important to you, and give you the power to create and lead in distinctively powerful ways. And so part of our job is to connect you to the university's powerful interdisciplinary resources and research capabilities across campus. We have outstanding faculty. Taubman College faculty are celebrated practitioners, expert scholars, and dedicated teachers who embrace progressive design as a vehicle for social impact and change. And even within architecture, we have a great breadth of subdisciplinary expertise, if you will. We have leaders in architectural practice, in research, in social impact and public impact design, and all of the history, theory, structures, building systems, environmental technologies, the whole range of subjects. Examples include Craig Borum and Jen McGray of the firm Ply Plus, who just a couple months ago won an Architecture League of New York Emerging Voices Award. We have 17 winners of the Architecture League's League Prize on faculty. Anne Locke-Louis, one of our professors of practice, won the Miller Prize at the most recent exhibit Columbus. Sean Alquist is contributing work to the 2021 Venice Biennale. Kathy Velikov has been president of Acadia, the leading computational design organization. And Sharon Haar is in a leadership role similarly at ACSA, the Association of Collegiate Schools of Architecture. And then finally, some of you today will meet our Associate Dean, Anya Sirota, who is using a major grant from the Knight Foundation to work with the Oakland Avenue Urban Farm in Detroit on their multi-year development plan. She and our colleague in urban planning, Harley Etienne, are also key planners and designers of the Midtown Cultural Campus in Detroit that includes many of the city's major arts and culture organizations. So that's just a sampling. You will have a chance to meet very soon, later this morning, many of our faculty and also some of your future peers, students from our degrees, excuse me. So another thing about Taubman College that animates us is that we're very experimentally oriented and future focused. Our culture is driven by our desire to imagine, reimagine, and reshape the future. Whether you're working in intensively digital design and computational design practices, or if you're more interested in the kind of post-digital thinking and design work that many of our faculty lead, whether you want to specialize in history and theory or other topics, our faculty are united by our commitment to design as a creative practice through which we shape the world. And our studio culture welcomes a diversity of thought and approaches. We offer a wide range of elective options within the design studio, for instance, that allows you to choose what direction you focus your learning and your creative work in. And I hear often from students how much they value the commitment of their faculty and also the collegiality of their fellow students. So peer-to-peer learning is a big part of what will activate your intellectual and creative development. We also put a big focus on career preparation, helping set you up to be a leader who designs and creates better built environments for the greater good. We're one of the few architecture and planning schools to have a robust full-time career and professional development team, Lou and Holly, 2 staff members, who work from the moment you arrive, if you're ready to engage at that point, in thinking forward about your professional trajectory, identifying summer work opportunities, and ultimately securing the right job after graduation. And 100% of our Master of Science and Master of Urban Design graduates and 90% of our MArch graduates are employed or continuing their education within 1 year of degree completion. And so we have a great track record and high ability to help you launch your career in the right direction. And this is an adaptive college. We did all kinds of things a year ago to migrate teaching and learning into remote and virtual formats. And even something like our annual career fair, in which dozens of employers typically came to the campus to interview and talk with our students. In the space of less than 2 weeks, our staff pivoted that to an online format and pulled it off really successfully. So we're adaptable and committed to your success. And hiring professionals ranked Taubman College among the top 10 most hired from architecture schools, according to Design Intelligence's most recent survey. And finally, the Alumni Network. Taubman College has one of the world's largest and most diverse alumni communities in architecture and planning. You will join a global network of more than 500,000 University of Michigan alumni, including about 11,000 graduates of Taubman College, working in every state across the United States and 75 other countries. And there's a really strong Go Blue spirit of University of Michigan camaraderie and support. And so our alumni play a big role. They come back for design juries, they come back for workshops and career chats, they come back for the career fair, and they are very excited to mentor and hire and support students and recent graduates. So you will be joining that group and finding allies who will help you understand and navigate the field. And above all, one of the things we have learned and demonstrated this past year is our cohesiveness as a community in adapting to the unexpected. From last March through the summer and this academic year, students have pulled together with faculty and with staff to figure out what our top needs are and how we can come together to meet everyone's key priorities. And so I'm really proud of the fact that in this unprecedented year, we have prioritized excellence in teaching and learning, adapting together to challenging times and uncertain futures. And it's a thrill to be able to look ahead to next academic year and think that we'll be adapting our way to a point of resuming our vibrant in-person on-campus teaching and learning community and welcoming you into it. So I will see some of you later for a live chat at 12:30. And now I get to hand things off to McLain Clutter, my colleague and the chair of our architecture program.
Hi, everyone. I'm McLain Clutter. Associate Professor and Chair of the Architecture Program here at Talbot College. Thank you all for attending our virtual preview and welcome to Talbot. We really wish you could be here in person, but to hopefully shine a bit more light on what it would be like to be a student here, I've packed this presentation absolutely full of student work from the past couple of years, as well as images of the culture and vitality of this place. So as I speak, try to imagine yourself walking through our college. What you'll see is the kind of stuff you might see on studio desks or pinup walls, or the kinds of activities you might encounter in our common spaces on any given day. I've also included images and videos of the many forms of digital engagement and interaction that we've hosted at the college in the past year. As a school of architecture that's deeply engaged in questions of computation, digital culture, and digital fabrication, among many other subjects, I think we probably sustained the transition to online and hybrid formats this past year better than some others. And we've made some pretty exciting discoveries along the way. So being accepted to study here is a great accomplishment, and one that I'm sure that you've worked really hard to reach. So congratulations. We're excited to have you here. And should you accept our offer of admission, we would be excited to watch the amazing intellectual and creative growth that I think you all experience in the coming years. I'll admit, it can be kind of a challenge to introduce our architecture program to those still on the outside, because it so resists a singular characterization. Our program is committed to the idea that architectural education in the 21st century can build up around a plurality of foundations, diverse epistemologies, experiences, histories, methodologies, and technical and conceptual capacities. We understand that architecture is a cultural product that always negotiates a complex multitude of voices and ideas and a kind of plurality of political, social, and aesthetic concerns. And through the intellectual diversity of our faculty and through the experimental nature of our education, we try to model that plurality. So today, conventionalized practice of architecture is increasingly confronted by changing social, technological, and environmental contexts. Our goal is to prepare students to meet that context, to prepare them for their future careers by cultivating a dynamic educational environment where assumptions are challenged, ideas are debated, and emergent design methods are forged. So studying here will expose you to ideas and concepts and techniques and kind of aesthetic sensibilities that will guide your thinking and creative work for years beyond the date of your graduation. In fact, this is an education that might only reveal its fullest relevance as you make it your own, as it's applied to your future professional and academic contexts. Architectural education isn't just a body of facts or formulas or kind of known techniques. It's a beginning. It's a kind of invitation to a new way of knowing the world. And I think you would find that our education here at Talbot is better understood as something that you engage and experience rather than something that you passively receive. Now, students here certainly spend their fair share of time in lectures, learning from amazing scholars and teachers in ways that you might be accustomed to. But they spend most of their time in studio and in seminars and discussion sessions, working with faculty and peers to puzzle through complex situations and ideas, or to unpack new contexts, or to unpack new readings. Or to understand the design techniques and precedents that constitute our discipline, and to then renew the relevance of those precedents for our contemporary contexts. So here, students work with faculty to develop novel aesthetic sensibilities, means of drawing and representation, spatial and material cultures, and ways of digital and analog making. We're a school that's committed to experimentation, testing, and prototyping. And so our students spend a good bit of time delving into the unknown. We think that there's excitement and opportunity that comes in that state of unknowing. In my opinion, that embrace of experimentation and the unknown is what architectural education is all about. It really isn't about solving problems or producing the right answer. It's about learning to redescribe the world as it might be. It's about articulating possible worlds that are more beautiful, inclusive, sustainable, and just. And to do that, sometimes you have to get a little bit lost first. So as I mentioned before, one of the real strengths of our program is our intellectual diversity. Here you'll learn from faculty with a wide variety of expertise and methods, and with very differing ways of designing and theorizing architecture's role in the world. As a student, it can sometimes be a challenge to understand how this variety of opinion adds up to a singular education. But I want to reassure you that it does. While at some schools you might learn one way of doing things or one predominant design philosophy, here you'll learn that architecture is a discourse, that the body of knowledge that constitutes our discipline is always in flux and subject to debate and argument. So we aspire to model that debate in our teaching, and you'll be invited to participate. Our goal here is to make you critical thinkers and innovators and lifelong learners, because we think that those are actually the skills that will be most enduring in your future careers. We don't want to produce graduates that always believe what they're told or who passively fulfill the demands of today's architectural profession. We want to produce graduates who will change the profession. Our goal is to educate architects, urbanists, and designers who will be agents of progress in the world. Most of you watching today are here to learn more about our Master of Architecture degree, but several of you are listening to learn more about our post-professional degrees, our Master of Urban Design, and our Master of Science in Digital and Material Technologies. Those post-professional degrees have their own specific sessions during our online preview events. So I'll spend most of my time talking about the MArch, but these 3 degrees complement one another. We have dual degree options covering the MArch and both post-professional degrees, and faculty often move between these degrees. Most importantly, students from all 3 of these degrees are critical parts to our school's ecology. And each of you will benefit from the kind of peer-to-peer learning that comes from having all of these degrees in the school. So I will just describe the MArch for you in some detail. Our MArch is a NAB accredited professional degree that combines design education with courses in theory, history, representation, structures, sustainability, digital fabrication, and building technology. Several of those curricular areas, such as theory, representation, and fabrication, are signature strengths of our curriculum. But the studio experience is really central to the Talbot education across all of our master's degrees. In part because studio is the space where ideas, knowledge, and technical skills born out of our other strong course offerings are tested and taken to task. Studio is a kind of fully engaged learning experience where you'll learn from your faculty and peers, and where you'll be challenged to expand intellectual and creative capacities that you might not have even known you have. Studio is also an experience that we as a program are constantly reevaluating and challenging. We're committed to experimenting with studio formats, to implementing new technologies and methods, and to designing new synergies between our studios and other courses. All of this to empower students and to continue our kind of legacy of experimentation. So for most of you who would attend our MArch on the 3-year track, the education begins with a summer foundational half semester. This half semester entails a studio and a theory course called Design Foundations. And these two courses work in close alignment to provide a kind of introduction to architectural education, including beginning tools, skills, and concepts. We introduce students to architecture in these courses as both a discipline that has kind of its own internal codes and ways of thinking, and as a form of tacit knowledge about which we think students arrive with a latent understanding. Then in the fall is our form studio. Form concentrates on abstraction and the articulation of architectural concepts through the control, organization, and modulation of geometry. In form, you'll learn how to design by focusing on structural relationships between architectural elements. And you'll learn to control the plasticity of mass, as well as color, pattern, and surface, all while continuing to build capacities in drawing, modeling, and visualization through digital media. And while similar studios on form and other schools often approach architecture as a kind of apolitical subject, our most recent iterations of this studio work in tandem with the history course that you'll take simultaneously to really interrogate the capacity of formal thinking to sustain a social and political agenda. And then our next studio in the 3-year sequence is called Situation. This is really one of my favorite studios in the college. This is a core studio that's wholly unique to Talbot. So Situation is about architecture's appearance in the kind of seldom considered everyday context of the built environment. The studio focuses on the present cultural moment, context, and time, and really concentrating on relationships that emerge through the simultaneous assembly of publics and matter, or of people and stuff. And the most recent versions of Situation delve deeply into ideas about supply chains and material systems and assembly that intersect with our construction and environmental systems courses. And the studio often shakes up kind of conventional studio formats by leaning into and experimenting with popular digital media formats like animation and video. We like these kinds of media in this studio because they seek to expand engagement in audiences for architecture. And then in the second year, our 3-year and 2-year students meet in a studio we call Institutions. So this is the first studio for our 2-year students and the first studio in the second year for our 3-year students. And as the name suggests, the studio entails the design of a mid-scale institutional structure. In this studio, students learn how a design project that deals with all of the contingencies of real-world contexts, like structural integration, building code, and life safety, can still be transcendent and visionary. But on a more conceptual level, the studio challenges students to assess the role of institutions in contemporary culture. The studio questions who and what identities and groups are represented in our institutions, and how those relationships might change to reflect contemporary culture or to foreground issues of social justice and equity. In institutions, students also learn about urban contexts by studying the relationship between institutional buildings and the kind of surrounding urbanity. Individual faculty teaching institution studios really have a lot of latitude in developing their studio sections. So the studio sections are often quite distinct from one another. Students ballot for their choices based on short presentations by faculty. And so Institutions is one of many places in our curriculum where our intellectual diversity really shines, and where we try to prompt dialogue between sections to kind of build a holistic conversation. There I am. And then the next studio offering is called Propositions. This is an option studio where faculty present very distinct advanced topic studios for students to choose from. Again, this occurs through a kind of balloting process. Proposition Studio is also interesting because it's a point where our urban design and architecture students intersect. The studio is part of the curriculum for both of these degrees. And so here, students from those different degrees have an opportunity to learn from one another. And many of the options for propositions will have an urban focus. Other options and propositions might investigate topics such as alternative theories of sustainability, critical building conservation, public engagement and design, or topics in fabrication or technology. Proposition studios are also sometimes paired with elective seminars, so students can really experience a kind of deep dive into a certain way of thinking for a semester. And then the first studio in the final year is our systems studio. Working in close alignment with our integrated systems course, this studio challenges students to design, technically develop, and integrate building systems in a multifamily housing project. So in this studio, conceptual questions about domesticity and collectivity are taken up, as well as kind of experimentation with new residential building types. And for the past several years, the studio has also hosted a really exciting and productive collaboration with the City of Detroit Planning and Development Department, in which our students have been imagining how the re-envisioning of housing for the city might engage design and issues of equity, social justice, and kind of alternative ideas for real estate development. So in many ways, the work of our students on housing in Detroit has really been one of the leaders of the conversation on that topic in the city. And then finally, we're one of only a handful of schools that still have a design thesis. Our thesis is a year-long experience with a thesis development seminar for research in the fall, and then a studio in the winter. Students work with a single faculty advisor, usually, each leading sections that kind of bracket a set of interests for student-directed theses. And our thesis sections regularly examine topics as varied as our program itself, from projects that kind of theorize architecture in the context of digital culture, as in this project, which was a co-housing project. It was kind of about co-housing, augmented reality, and social media. Here are just a couple more images of that project. To other sections, which are on things like digital fabrication, as in this project, which use digital tools to fabricate a friction fit, double curved concrete masonry structure at 1-to-1 scale. To other topics like alternative models for progressive practice or global urbanization. Here at Talbot, we don't really think of thesis so much as the culminating project in our education, but really as like the beginning of a set of interests or infatuations that students will carry with them into their early careers. So we try to provide a diverse set of choices to set those career trajectories. And as I mentioned before, studio is really only one part of our education. It's the place that synthesizes our strong coursework in theory, history, representation, sustainability, digital fabrication, and technology, as well as a long list of electives that allow students some authorship of their education and the opportunity to take courses with faculty based on their most emergent research and design efforts. And as I mentioned before, also, the MArch degree is only one of 3 graduate degrees in our program. We also offer the Master of Urban Design, which is a degree that I teach in often. And it's a 1.5-year degree that situates the practice of urban design within the context of complex global processes of urban transformation. And then we also have a Master of Science in Digital Immaterial Technologies. And this is a 10-month degree that makes extensive use of our fabrication facilities here, investigating emergent technologies, materials, and production logics that will radically shape the future of our built environment. So both of these degrees, the MUD and MSDMT, also have dual tracks with our Master of Architecture that students sometimes enter after beginning their educations here. But of course, our curriculum and degree offerings here are only one part of the constellation of factors that I think set Talbot apart. The strength of our school really begins with our faculty and students, some of whom you'll have a chance to meet at other planned preview events. Here you'll find uniquely committed faculty, each highly accomplished in their areas of expertise and very dedicated to research, creative practice, and teaching. I really believe that there are precious few schools of architecture in the country, maybe in the world, with a faculty so accomplished and yet approachable. And that approachability may seem like a relatively insignificant factor in your choice for graduate school, but I assure you that it's actually absolutely essential in establishing the kind of collaborative and engaged culture that is really core to design education. And this collaborative culture has really been punctuated in the past year, especially as many of our students have really led the school in discussions about decolonizing our education and centering racial justice. Here, we welcome students not only as recipients of the education, but as partners in the co-production of our pedagogy. And then another factor that's key in setting Talbot apart is our strong public programming. Our lecture series regularly features some of the most renowned architects and scholars in our fields, and we host conferences and other events addressing some of the most urgent concerns intersecting our discipline and society at large. And the Talbot education is greatly enhanced by our range of facilities, from one of the best fabrication labs in any architecture school in the world, to the University of Michigan's vast library system, to facilities for emerging technology, like virtual reality and mixed reality. And we offer really compelling extracurricular opportunities, like the possibility of participating in the Talbot Public Design Corps, which offers students the possibility of engaging in socially driven design with local community partners, or the opportunity to be editors of Dimensions. This is a video of the opening of the most recent Dimensions, which is Taubman's annual student-produced journal. And all of this is within the context of one of the world's most distinguished public research universities. So I could go on about the opportunities that our school provides, but you all have a lot of preview weekend ahead of you to hear from other faculty and students. So I think I'm going to start to wrap up here by offering again my congratulations. We're really excited to introduce you to our architecture program here at Talbot. The next several years at this school are going to be dynamic and evolving. We'll be experimenting with new ideas, techniques, and technologies. We'll be debating and redescribing architecture's role in a rapidly changing world. We'll be teaching in new ways and learning in new ways. All of this because it aligns with our experimental culture, our embrace of pluralities, and our commitment to preparing our students for an ever-changing cultural and professional environment. So I hope to see you guys all here next year. Now I think we're going to end this first session of preview, and I believe the next thing on your schedules is the faculty meet and greet, which I encourage you all to attend. And I think I'll see many of you at the Master of Architecture breakout sessions for questions later today. So thanks again for attending, and I'll see you soon.